A video has been circulated on the web which depicts the confrontation between a Russian Special Forces soldier and an American Navy SEAL. The video fully reflects the essence of the confrontation – Russian Special Forces against US Special Forces. Hello, Newsoldier in touch! The desire to know who has the right to be called the best in a particular area seems to be inherent in man by nature. As a result, there are numerous competitions in completely different disciplines, various ratings and tops. But what about when it comes to those who are already considered the elite? So today Special Forces exist in almost all countries of the world. At the same time, the Special Forces of Russia and the United States are generally recognized as the most professional and strong. But is it possible to choose the most elite of them with a certain accuracy? In order to understand this, the officer of the legendary Alpha Squad, Dmitry Stepanov, entered the ring against US Navy Special Forces officer Dennis Lane. However, the boxing match did not last long. The Alpha fighter defeated the American in the first round, knocking the latter out. At the same time, the Russian did not miss almost a single blow. It should be noted that commentators appreciated the professionalism of Russian commander and admired his training, calling it a battle McDonald's Warrior vs. Hyperborean. A clean and fast outcome of the duel was noted by the majority of users. They emphasized that the American was simply not ready for such a confrontation and looked too arrogant before the battle, for which he paid. The US Marine appears to have been trained by Obama, wrote one internet user. One commenter even opined that the video reflected typical America with its arrogance and baseless pathos. In real life, in sports or politics, the US is as arrogant as always, but at the same time empty and stupid, users write. In addition, many noted the poor physical shape of the American fighter, suggesting that he spends a lot of time in fast food restaurants. McDonald's Warrior against the Hyperborean force of nature. It is useless to do something against these warriors, others conclude. Have you seen this fight? Share your impressions in the comments below the video. For the sake of objectivity, we must say that such competitions show nothing on a global scale, since far from all special forces take part in them, especially annually. And many exercises may not fully correspond to the tasks that a particular unit is designed to solve in real fight. However, the variegated ratings published around the world by different media are even less objective, and there are several reasons for this. First, it is impossible to determine whom and with whom to compare. In most countries there are police special forces, there are special forces subordinate to ministries of defense, there are those who carry out the tasks of special services. At the same time, the nature of the tasks for which each of these organizations is responsible differs from state to state. American publications in their top mix the FSB special forces into a single heap, smashing terrorists inside the country. Military unit Navy SEALs, which performs reconnaissance and sabotage operations in wartime behind enemy lines. The British SAS, working both on assignments from the Army and MI6 intelligence. DIGN, subordinate to the Ministry of Defense and the police. Secondly, special forces are not a tank. They do not have clear characteristics, such as armor thickness, range and accuracy of the shot, or maximum speed by which one could determine the best example. It is rather the crew of the tank, which, other things being equal, will win the battle. It all depends on the level of training, which can only be determined by putting one unit against another in a real battle, or at least its simulation. However, here again everything depends on the tasks. The special forces of the Marines do not fight with the special forces of the enemy Marines in real life, they have other goals. Thirdly, it is impossible to give preference based on the number of successful operations. The number strongly depends on the age of the unit, as well as the peculiarities of the foreign policy and internal stability of the state to which it belongs. For example, the Police Special Forces of Colombia, HAMGLAS, regularly storming the laboratories of local drug cartels, in any case will be more experienced than the special forces of the relatively quiet and calm Belgium. As well as the US Marines managed to harden in Afghanistan and Iraq much stronger than the modern combat swimmers of peace-loving Denmark. need something different. In view of the above, any attempt to find the strongest special forces in the world is doomed to an overly subjective result, and they need to sacrifice serious nuances during their analysis. And therefore, instead of such ratings, we suggest simply looking a little deeper into the special forces of Russia and America. So, Special Forces of the USA and Russia. What are the differences? The Special Forces of Russia and the United States are quite different from each other, starting from the goals that the government sets for these elite units and ending with the methods for achieving the goals. What do you think are the biggest differences between the Special Forces of the two countries? Leave your comments below the video. First, the motto of the American Special Forces is "Free from oppression", reflecting one of the main tasks of the US Special Forces, the training of foreign military personnel. That is, even based on the motto, it is not difficult to conclude that the US Special Forces are intended, in fact, primarily to incite wars of the oppressed outside their own country. But among the tasks solved by the Russian Special Forces units is the direct conduct of hostilities, special intelligence, combating terrorism, search and rescue operations, participation in peacekeeping and humanitarian operations, demining, combating drug trafficking. Russian Special Forces, even by definition, do not participate in the export of war. Second, the history of American and Russian Special Forces began almost simultaneously, in 1952 with the formation of a special group of employees of the Office of the Strategic Services (OSS) created during World War II, and the CIA that appeared in 1947. On October 24, 1950, the directive of the Minister of War of the USSR, number ORG 2395832, was signed with the stamp "Secret". It initiated the creation of special forces, deep reconnaissance or special purpose reconnaissance, for operations in the deep rear of the enemy. Third, the dark green beret became the unofficial distinguishing mark of the US Army Special Forces. For Russian Special Forces, the color of the beret depends on the type of forces to which they are assigned. After all, units of the Russian Special Forces exist in almost all power structures of the Russian Federation: the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Defense, the FSB, the SVR, the GRU, the FSKN, Grom Squad, and even the Ministry of Emergency Situations, High-Risk Special Operations Center leader. Fourth, the film Green Berets was made about the US Army Special Forces during the Vietnam War, and since then the Special Forces have been constantly shown in many films and computer games. For example, Operation Flashpoint. Up to 20% of only the official budget of the US Special Forces, which is billions of dollars, goes exclusively to propaganda, that is, to improve the cool image of the Rangers around the world. And the entire budget of the Russian Special Forces goes only to increase the level of combat training of soldiers. If a movie is made about it, then only from extra budgetary sources. Fifth, US Special Forces literally blossomed with the advent of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy to the White House. In 1961, he ordered an increase in the staff of Green Berets and trained them in accordance with the concept of guerrilla warfare. According to Kennedy, modern wars are becoming wars of sabotage and ambush, infiltration and guerrilla warfare. Kennedy declared that the United States must have units capable of conducting guerrilla operations anywhere in the world. Since then, the cost of the Rangers has been an untouchable item in the US military budget. Even the legitimate majority of Congress cannot cut it. Sixth, it was among the Green Berets under Kennedy that the first units of psychological warfare appeared, using the cultural and psychological characteristics and traditions of different peoples. Under Kennedy, the Green Berets also received a baptism of fire. By order of the president, they began to act as military advisors and intelligence saboteurs in South Vietnam and Africa. And now traces of the Green Berets are found all over the world, where unjust wars are being waged. Seventh, Americans have always considered their special forces soldiers to be the best in the world. How true this statement is, it is difficult to answer. And this is not only because most special forces operations are not openly advertised, but also because few people know which specific special forces are part of the US Armed Forces. The structure of the units of the Russian Federation Special Forces was published in the open press. 8th. After the operation to destroy Bin Laden, America never ceases to admire its Navy SEALs and other Special Forces units. But while the citizens of America are proud and admire the Special Forces, the cost of funding the Special Operations Command, SOCOM, which includes the Rangers, is constantly increasing due to the reduction in the budget of the rest of the country's armed forces. The ranks of US SOCOM soldiers are also replenishing at a tremendous pace. Now there are about 70,000 of them. In addition to the Navy SEALs, Green Berets and Navy Snipers, the SOCOM forces also include other, no less significant Special Forces units. 9th. It is for the American Special Forces that the most bloody episodes are listed. So, for example, during a peacekeeping mission in Somalia, hundreds of people were just like that killed by American Special Forces. American Navy snipers left an indelible memory of themselves during the liquidation of riots on the island of Haiti. There are dozens, if not hundreds of such examples. At the same time, no one can say anything bloody about the Russian Special Forces, neither the UN, nor the governments of various countries, nor even the Americans themselves. Washington is counting on its own special forces, forming its military concept, which will untie America's hands and allow it to find the funds it needs so much today to restructure the American economy, which has long been facing a global crisis. But the Russian military doctrine is purely defensive. Russians don't need someone else's. That's all. Friends, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you have not yet. And of course, like and leave your comments. Narrated by Maxim Nikulin for Newsoldier channel.